Roads? It's the Ernest Hancock Show. Where we're going, there aren't any roads.
Yeah, one solution. What's that solution here in Declare Your Independence of me, Ernest Hancock? How about some freedom? Freedom. Let's do that freedom thing. You know, we got another freedom big woohoo guy coming to the Freedom Summit. FreedomSummit.com. Lawrence Reed from fee.org. FEE.org. We pull that bad boy up for you right there. I pushed the button. You can see it, all the goodies. FEE.org. Lawrence, I'm so glad that you're coming. We first met this last spring, and I think it was Michigan, and you did such a great job. I'm really glad that you agreed to participate in this year's summit. And you can see from the list of speakers and so on, you're going to be having a good time with lots of your friends, aren't you?
Oh yeah. Thanks, Ernie. I am really looking forward to it very much.
Yeah, no, and you should, especially when it's first weekend in December in Phoenix.
That's right. I was just in Tucson about 2 weeks ago, and it was gorgeous. So I'm really looking forward to coming back to Arizona.
Well, tell the listeners what you're going to be speaking on. I mean, we kind of hold off on the subjects until right before because, you know, we've learned from past summits that the entire freaking planet changes, days before the summit, so we don't get too locked down too early. But, I'm sure your topic's probably going to, be relevant. What are you going to be talking about?
Well, I'll be talking about something that happened 2,000 years ago, so there isn't much change that's likely to happen between now and early December. I'll be talking about lessons from ancient Rome, and I'll be making it very relevant to today because in so many ways we are committing many of the very same mistakes that the ancient Romans committed and that led to their downfall. And my message is basically going to be if we don't get our fiscal house in order, if we don't put government in its proper place, our freedoms, if not our civilization itself, are headed to some very rocky times.
Well, define that. I mean, rocky times. People.
I don't want to give too much away. Well, I think that in the long run, the way a people think about the proper role of government has an awful lot to do with where they're headed, where their freedoms are going, and whether or not they'll in fact survive as a civilization. And we know from experience that in places like ancient Rome, when a self-governing people confer upon their government the power to take from some and give to others and spend like there's no tomorrow, then it's only a matter of time before the last bone of the last taxpayer is picked bare.
Do you see that coming? I mean, it's going to be a feeding frenzy? I kind of put it like this. The United States economy and the people here in America are like this big whale, and you got the sharks feasting on it, man, they're just going at it. They're having their fill. And then it gets down to where it's just a little bit of meat on the bone, and it starts getting frenzied, and sooner or later, the sharks start feeding on each other. And have we got to that point?
Well, the hour is late, there's no question, but if I thought that we couldn't turn things around, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, which is trying to educate people. I do think that a society can turn itself around, but it does require an awful lot of commitment to change. It requires some sacrifice in the short run, some tough choices, and I'm optimistic that we're in the process of turning things around, but time will tell.
I let's talk about that. Turning things around. Well, I'm going to be... let's go ahead and get into details. To turn it around, there are different mechanisms by which you may do that. You could do it peacefully, the political process. You can just have a collapse of the economy. You can have an outside force say, guess what, we're your new rulers, liberators, whatever the heck they want to call it. You have successful state secessions. You have individual sovereignty secessions. You got, Marvin the Martian with the button, has his own island, de la whatever, and everybody moves there. I mean, there's all kinds of ways. How do you see this playing out? Is it going to be peaceful?
Well, I certainly hope so. I don't want to make a forecast because I don't know what the future holds. But my preference is for people, through an educational process, come to their senses and realize that we have strayed from our founding principles as a nation at our peril, and that we must reassert those principles, and that involves such things as expecting the right things of our politicians and not letting them get away with murdering the Constitution. It requires that we as a people look less to government for the answers to our problems and expect less from it. All of this turnaround can happen peacefully through a change of mind, change of heart on the part of the American people. That's what I'm working towards, because anytime you talk about change through violence or any other means, almost always leads to a situation that's even worse.
Yeah, you got revolution by the guys with the guns. Now, yay, we got more guys with guns in charge. So I'm not a big giant fan of that. So we're, doing the love-olution thing, which brings us to, Dr. Paul now has his son in the Senate. We'll see how that works out. But what about him running again in 2012? Are we on a speaking tour? We got, that's one thing. Scott Horton from antiwar.com radio, I had him on, and I asked him about it, and he said, oh, absolutely, I support Dr. Paul's 2012 speaking tour. Look what it did before, and we can look forward to another round of freed minds. And if you look at it that way, of course, do it, man. Go on the speaking tour. And I'm wondering what role you think he'll play in this discourse. I mean, is the economy going to so overwhelm what's happening that, the other philosophical discussions are going to go by the wayside, or are they going to be central to the economic understanding of what has to be done and how we got here and why?
Well, one of the reasons I'm hopeful for the country is I think these very important philosophical discussions are now emerging as critical issues, and that we will be talking more about them this year, next year, and into 2012 and beyond. I think the Tea Party has helped to assure that, and people like Rand Paul, and some others around the country who got elected a couple of weeks ago, I think they're going to help elevate the national debate so that we're going to be talking more about fundamental principles. I think the American people are ready for that. I mean, they've been trying for years, all these politicians of both parties, with their promises to give us this or take care of that, and they're fed up with the results. And there's a renewed interest, I think, in fundamental core principles. What is it that we want government to do, and what do we not want it to do? Where can we reduce it? And there's more attention for that than I've seen in my lifetime.
Can we, though?
Well, yeah, I think we can. You can't give up. Pessimism is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Got to be optimistic. We got into this mess because of bad ideas. We can get out of it with good ideas. It's all a matter of will sufficient numbers of people awaken enough, in time enough, to raise the alarm and put the right pressures on government to change its ways. We've all got to work for that, and let the chips fall where they may. What more can you do?
Well, I tell you, education, Foundation for Economic Education, FEE.org is always a good place to go. And what I hear a lot, and I'm sure you do, as a matter of fact, in your speech, I heard before, I remember you talking about how influenced you were as a young man by FEE. And I paid attention to that, and as I talk to people about your coming and about the Freedom Summit and about FEE, I keep hearing the same thing. A lot of people, my age, a little bit older, were so influenced over the years by FEE that is kind of the core of a lot of the activism and a lot of the foundation of their understanding of economics and politics and the Constitution. So FEE has a big impact on a lot of people. When we come back, I'm going to go ahead give you an opportunity to give us some of the history of FEE so that we can hopefully use you as a resource, and a lot of people come visit with you and get your material at the Freedom Summit. FreedomSummit.com. Go check it out. Lawrence Reed.